I didn't mind because it was true. It was the life, love, and the lessons. You know what I mean? And I that's always been it. Like just really writing from a real, true place. I always say, we tend to want to write about the fantasies, and that's cool, but you got to come down and tap into the realities. And
Right.
I don't want to write music that makes people drift off. Like, now I want you to be still, you know what I mean? And just tap in. So, like I said, writing that, I had no idea what I was going to write. But as I was writing, I literally was thinking about everything that transpired to get to that place. So I was, the part that I was listening to again that I wrote when I said, when I let you into my heart, it wasn't that, it was the fact that I even banked on thinking, that like it's a gamble. Like, why did I even?
Houston, Texas. It's your boy JR. And this is the What's Next podcast, a creative story. Walk with us. Shout out to my man Clifton Morris III. Riley and Ryan shirt I got on today. Shout out my man Bink the artist for his space. Let's go.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Biggie,
Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas. Welcome back to episode 136 of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary Inc. It's been a minute.
cheers to the money guy. The Willie nigga. Got 'em bottles on and then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dog.
Theme song by Easy Eve, Saint and the Nice Guys, Over Toast. Houston, Texas, man. It's been a minute, and it feels good to be podcasting in the fourth quarter of 2022.
Yep.
Today I have a very, very special creative that I've been dying to get on the podcast with for close to a year now.
Yeah. Oh.
Close to a year now. It was around this time in 2021 when my man hit me, KB. I work with him. We coach at Waltrip High School in HISD. He hit me and he was like, "Hey, Echo's got a show tonight, right around the corner from your crib."
All right. Wow.
And I'm the type of person, I wasn't always like this, but I've become an introvert.
Okay. Well.
So I was ducked off in the house, and he said, "It's right around the corner on Scott." I said, "That I can do."
Right.
If I've had too much, I could take the train home.
Right.
But that I can do. And so I pull up, I park. I'm here to see Echo. And then this African American woman gets on the stage and she starts singing a record. I don't know if you know her. You may know her. But she sings this record, and I said I have to podcast with her sometime.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I actually, when you breaking the night down, I remember the night because I remember you walking up and it was a lot going on. It was a busy night.
Yeah, because I kind of you did your thing and you went and sat down, and then I came up behind you. I was like, "Yeah, my name is John Rose Dyke, yada yada yada,"
And I remember Echo, his band. He was live.
Yeah. And so from that night, when you told us where we could find that record that you sang, I downloaded the album and I've been on it since.
Right. That I know. It's funny because as an independent artist, I mean, the goal is for people to receive, and you get the ones who receive, and it's like, all right, they received it on next. But I definitely was flattered and still shocked. You know what I mean? Like like you still, like you would DM, "Hey, man, I'm still listening, so I'm rocking with it. I want to," you just kind of stayed in link, and I'm like, I mean, and because what I do, I'm not, like I said, you want people to receive, but I'm just real modest, laid back. I don't make a fuss about nothing. But so for me, it was like, dang, this dude is like, he's still like, he light. You know what I mean? I had told my producer, I'm like, man, old boy, rocking with it, and it still is just, it's funny because I never expect, I guess, the magnitude of probably what I would do. You know what I mean? So when people do like yourself, share like they rocking with it or they received it, it's like, that's cool, you know what I mean? I
Right.
would hope so, but it's still like shocking. Like
Why?
I don't know. You know, I guess because I don't make it about myself. Like when how I write, and it really comes from the heart. And as I write, I mean, I write about real things.
Hold on, slow up. You know, I was gonna let you go. I didn't want to interrupt it. Listen, before we get started with the episode, let's introduce our social media handles,
Right.
so we don't disrupt again the flow of the conversation when we get to that point. Go ahead.
So my social media, I'm on IG and Facebook mainly, but IG for sure is Christina Dene Music. It's all together, ChristiinaDenae Music, MUSIC.
Okay.
Music. So yeah, Christina Dene Music. Just to make it easier, you know, it's a Nigerian flag on the side, so that's how y'all can find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And my name is
John Ross Dyke I, founder of Still Visionary Inc. and creator of the What's Next podcast, dropping every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time.
You know, I thought that old habits die, but I couldn't go without doing that. Shout out to my student, one-time student, Dalton Hamza, for doing that voiceover for me.
Right. It sounds safe. Mm-hmm.
And you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dyke and still _visionary. Also the What's Next pod _ everything you need about me and this company is at Still Visionary Inc. No, stillvisionary.com.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So, listen, this podcast, I used to say in the beginning of the podcast before I tried to figure out how to shorten it up, I used to say that this is the What's Next podcast, Houston's #1 platform, where I invite creatives to share their journeys
Right.
and give us a depiction of their visions.
Right.
And throughout all of this conversation, the last question I'll ask is, what's next for you? Hence the name of the podcast.
Right.
Right. So I've never met you before. This is our second time talking.
Right.
First full official conversation.
Right.
And I, you know, when I heard you sing last year, Let Me Down, right? I'm the type of person as an independent artist, I just love the journey.
Right.
Because if you're the Christina Dene that this music kind of alludes you to be, and the way I kind of hold your album, then there might be a time period where I'd have to go through management to speak to you. You know what I mean? I'd have to kind of like go through somebody to kind of get to you because you'd already have taken off. But before that point, I just like to know, you know, the journey of how you came up with what I consider a masterpiece.
Oh wow.
You know, I mean, listen,
Thank you.
this podcast, look, I think that I have the best episodes when I am, you know, when I'm kind of like in my bag and I'm ready to kind of, you know, just this record right here. Hold on, it's too late. It's too early. It's too early. It's too early. This record right here, y'all. Houston, Texas. This is Just Friends. I've played this on my podcast before.
Really?
To a friend of mine.
Wow.
Right. So let's get started. I mean,
All right.
I feel like you were talking about, you know, writing, but let's go back a little bit. Let's not rush it.
Okay. Take your time.
Take your time. I remember one time I texted you because you had a line on your album that said, well, I thought it was your accent on the record, and I asked you if you were from Dallas, and you said you were from Louisiana.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start there. You are from Louisiana.
Yes, sir.
What part?
Lafayette. I'm from Lafayette.
Okay. Okay.
I've been living in Houston. I moved here the summer of '99, July. So a lot of people, you know, they be like, "Oh, you a Texan now," you know. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool," but nah, I say I can't, you know, lose my roots. You know, the boot is my roots. So I'm a Louisiana native, always will be. So yeah, I'm just when I moved here, I did not. It was a personal transition with the family, but you know, God makes no mistakes. Everything lines up for a reason. So you know what I thought was like the disaster, you know, was all really development. I mean, not me knowing how I was going to be, but when I look back now as older and more wiser, you know, things are lined up how it should. So, I mean, I ended up adapting, you know, and it's been good, you know, friends and opportunities and all of the stuff, you know, has birthed since then. So it's been good.
Have you always sung?
Yes, I've always sang. With music, my background, I didn't sing in church. I didn't do talent shows. Never went to no theater arts. It wasn't none of that. I was just outside, just running, tomboy, running outside, just being myself. But when it came to music, the artist I gravitated to early on was Lauryn Hill.
Gotcha.
So, and that was like, I don't know if you remember that, but I don't know if there was a Louisiana thing, but they had a thing called The Box. And it was like you can pay, I think 99 cents something to watch the video. But if you could not, they would just do like previews of artists and have a quick little bio. So I could never buy it because I had no money. So I would just always, when her picture and her bio and a little bit of a song would come on, I'd be like, man. So I was able to get the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And I jammed that CD like crazy at a young age. So I think, like I said, when I moved to Houston, I was 15. So I was like probably maybe 13. I forgot. I did the math on when that album dropped and how old I was, but I definitely was a fresh teenager. So that was like my introduction to like real life words and emotion and just real with just how she carried herself. Like it was just raw, her, So that's introduction to music. And then from then on, stuff that I like, I sing around the house, but never wanted to turn it into anything. Not at that time, so.
You talking about 1999 when you moved, or you talking about just growing up?
Before, because I moved to Houston in 99. So as far as music-wise as a young girl, it wasn't anything but just that. And that was before I moved here. So I had to be like 12, 11, 13, something like that. Yeah, so I was young. But my background with music wasn't how you see some people just, like I said, I was in talent shows and theater art school.
Hold on. And we're back.
Right.
Yeah, we had this sound was, I know if we could hear it, I know y'all could hear it too. So, okay, so I don't get that from your story or from listening to this album.
What?
That you don't have a background in music.
Well, I do. It's just not
it's not the traditional.
Yeah.
Like you didn't grow up singing in the church.
People can go back and they was on Star Search and I don't have none of that. It was just, I started singing later on, like around 19 when I was at a job and I forgot how it even happened, but it's a curator. His name is, oh Lord, I went blank. Brad Dion, Coffee House Productions. So we all worked at Telejack and just this little gig, and I started singing from there. That's when it started. Like I forgot how they heard I could sing, but it's as far as the development of that's where it started. Just working with Daddy Entry Clerk. Somehow they heard me, and I did a cappella "Killing Me Softly." It was a black and white event. He asked me to perform, and who I was then, how I am now. Lord, I've grown so much because I was scared, like just because that wasn't my thing. Like my singing was just what I did and what I do, but never trying to push any kind of agenda. It kind of was just the assignment was put on me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So you never sang in a church choir?
Recently now.
Okay.
Grown, but
because that is where they kind of like you're gonna be in this section and this is how you hold your neck and this is the note and this is the beat. That helped me
much later, like just a few years ago, with just having more of a quality of studio session, not just learning how to breathe. So that came, like I said, much later, but just back then, no, like those opportunities came like, oh, okay, I can equate, choir rehearsal with how I do my music, in the studio, saying all my words clearly,
right.
Like I know I do have an accent, so maybe, if I'm writing it fast, okay, say it fast but clear. So those parts of like I said, rehearsal did help me be more calculated in how I wanted to, and not be singing like a robot, like still make it organic and natural, but keep in mind keeping it structured, because it still needs to be structured. So I would always tell my engineer, like, I don't want to jazz up what's jacked up. I'm like,
gotcha.
I want my raw version to sound just as pleasing as if once you mix, master it, and do what you got to do, I'm not sounding like a completely different person. So how I go in, and how I went in, and how I executed was now always a priority, but even more so now. Like, make sure it's on point. Like if I talking too much, I can't, when my voice dry, raspy, I can't do it. I don't want to force nothing.
Right.
So, you know, I have my little tricks or, you know, ideas of how I want to, you know, put it out there. But yeah.
Right. So after you sing the Killing Me Softly, you said that that's when it kind of started to like, what year was that?
Ooh, so I was 19. So you got me over here mathing. When I started,
You were 19.
yeah, I'm trying to see.
You
so,
came
so
to
that
Houston.
Like 04, 05, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, around that time. Like I'll say 05.
Okay.
Yeah.
05. I met you in 2021. Those 16 years in between. What was the journey like for you then?
Man,
The reason why I say that is, listen,
it's a real life journey.
I feel like that 16-year span period, when I think about records like Just Friends, I'm like, this record right here, to me, sounds like the budget on it, behind it was big. Even though it might not have been.
Yeah, right.
What you're talking about in the record.
The burden was.
What?
The burden was big,
Yeah.
not the budget.
Yeah.
For sure.
But for me, like, you know, this, you say, when you just said that the experiences that you had in those 16 years, I could almost hear it on that record. Because listen, man, when I think about this album, I'm just like, man, it's no way that you could be an independent artist. It's just no way.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that if people had it, I don't know how, I know how I stumbled on it, but if people heard it, right? Because I liken it to this. I'm a big Joe Budden fan. And a lot of times on his podcast, he'll say an artist has their entire life for their first project.
Man, ooh, that's deep.
Is this your first project?
Yes.
Yeah. I could hear it.
The first official, it was a lot of, you know, stuff you do and try to work it and time in and it got messed up, but like that's what I say, it took a minute. I mean, just a lot of either the creativity gap or just life, you know, circumstances, finances, you know, priorities. But yeah, when we was finished, we was like, whew, like it just, but it was, you know, we want to rush things, but when you look back and really just listen to it, and when I look at my cover, I mean, it happened how it was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Everything, like I don't regret it, because like, what is the rush? You know, if it's real, you know what I mean? Like, it's if the intent is to inspire and, you know, convict, encourage, then you don't want to rush that. You definitely don't, because messages can't get conveyed if you're just doing it for the masses, doing it just to, and we have a lot of music like that. There's no substance. So, like again, in my wisdom is like, yeah, like I'm intentional then, but trying to rush the intentionality. You know, the new intent, there's really no time on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah.
When did you produce this?
This was done in 2019.
So from 2005 to 2019, those 14 years, you had a breakup in that time period.
Yeah, you know, a little.
It, you know, that's not important. I just could hear it in that record.
I think it wasn't necessarily it wasn't a breakup. It was more of just the heartbreak of what couldn't be.
Hence, Just Friends.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and you know, and me writing that, it wasn't. First of all, when I write, I let the beat speak to me.
Gotcha.
So I don't have any songs I already wrote that I'm trying to force the beat to mesh with, none of that. So I just listen to the track over and over. Sometimes I have to let it marinate. Sometimes you know, it just hit me, and I believe that didn't take long for me to figure out what direction I want to go. The first few words in my verse is always as a catalyst. Okay, I already know where I'm going with this. So before words are even written, I'm just, I try to find a melody. Like, okay, when words do come, how am I gonna say this? Like, in what tone and what emotion? So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not the girl that want to write about how John broke Jane's heart, but that track, it gave emotion. It was soft. It just gave, if I wanted to write about something like that, it would fit. And the words just came out. So it was that was a real, all the lyrics, it was real. You know what I mean?
I think we should go into it. I think we should go into it.
Go ahead.
Listen, Houston, Texas. I'm here with Christina Dene, and we're listening to Just Friends off of the These Days Life, Love, and Lessons LP, EP. EP.
Yeah.
This is my favorite record on this album.
Thank you. It's one of mine too. It's a full song. Yeah.
Been down for a minute. Is it safe to cross that line? For me to let you know how I feel. Confident enough, show proof that it's real. Wanna open up, need to face all my fears. To me it's all good, but you really don't see it the same way. So you push me to the side just to play it safe. Now I'm feeling all weird, don't know what it is. Didn't mean to violate your space. Now I'm sitting.
I hope you don't mind if I carry a note or two.
Oh, go ahead.
What to say or what to do.
Houston, Texas.
I wish that I could be the one instead of being
homie. Oh,
I wish that we could fall in love.
That's the one. That's the one.
Even though it's hard to believe, everything ain't what it seems. So maybe it's all just a dream.
We will never be more than friends.
What's a girl to do? Got myself frustrated trying to keep it cool. I put myself out there, was really hoping that you would have felt it too. If I could turn back the hands of time, I would have thought back and realized you were giving me all the signs. But
Just friends, just friends.
I didn't wanna see it. When we on the phone, busy telling me the different dates you going on. Trying to figure who she is, why she seems so right, and I wonder what I'm doing wrong. It's just some things that you can't control, so it's better to let it go. I don't know what the future holds, but too bad it's not you.
I wish that I could be the one instead of being homies. I wish that we could fall in love. I could have been your
lady. Even though it's hard to believe, everything ain't what it seems. So maybe it's all just a dream, 'cause we will never be more than friends. Oh, I should've never took it this far. I didn't know the consequences when I let you into my heart. So here I am with these broken pieces. What I thought was meant to be, I gotta let go of this fantasy, 'cause we will never be more than friends. I wish that I could be the one. I wish that I could be the one instead of being happy. I wish that we could fall in love. I wish that we could fall in love. I could have been a lady. Even though it's hard to believe, everything ain't what it seems. So maybe it's all just a dream, 'cause we will never be more. Yeah. I wish that I could be the one. I wish that I could be the one instead of being happy. I wish that we could fall in love. I wish we could lady. Even though it's hard to believe, everything ain't what it seems. So maybe it's all just a dream. We will never be more than friends.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let me clear my throat. Yeah.
Oh man, listen.
That was the most emotional song. The realest emotional song.
Right. Houston, what's going on? Welcome to my Patreon page. You've been asking, JR, what's going on with the podcast? Well, starting March the 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Full episodes of the What's Next podcast will be exclusively available on Patreon. You being here means one thing, that you're in support of me, Still Visionary Inc., and the What's Next podcast. So I'd love it if you subscribe to one of my 3 tiers. I do what I do for myself to prove that I can do it for others. See you on Patreon.
You know, I didn't mind because it was true. You know, it was the life, love, and the lessons. You know what I mean? And I that's always been it. Like, just really writing from a real, true place. You know, I always say, you know, we tend to want to write about the fantasies, and that's cool, but you got to come down and tap into the realities. You know, and I don't want to write music that makes people drift off. Like, nah, I want you to be still, you know what I mean? And just tap in. So, like I said, writing that, I had no idea what I was going to write. But as I was writing, I literally was thinking about everything that transpired to get to that place. So I was, the part that I was listening to again that I wrote when I said, when I let you into my heart, it wasn't that, it was the fact that I even banked on thinking, you know, that like you know, it's a gamble. Like why did I even let you in, like gamble with the idea? Like, cause to be honest, like some things is just not meant to progress. You know what I mean? And you can want what you want, you know, and hope for it, but that's not how it's always going to be, you know? So it was more of just running through all the emotions of like, I did all this, but let me find some kind of acceptance. As you know, like we just, you know what? We never been more than friends. That's just what it is. And like I said, I didn't know this whole project. I didn't know what was going to come about it, what beats to pick. But like I said, even with my producer, like we never just sat in and like, okay, we going to build a beat. It was just, hey, I'm going to send you a few things and it'll be some tracks. It'll be like, you going to write on that? I'm like, yeah. You know, or he like, man, I hear you writing on that. I'm like, nah, I don't. But like I said, all these really lined up with just the project, you know, because I had this title for an EP I was trying to do back then, but you know the song choices, it was good, but I was real like young, and it just, I didn't want to stray from that title because it still was meat, you know, on the bone, you know what I mean? I didn't want to like switch it, you know. So I'm glad that I was excited I could still keep it, and it really lined up really with lessons, you know what I mean? Because I was just kind of going through life and some parts of love, whether it be self-love, but lessons, really, that's really all the lessons, you know what I mean, that project. So yeah.
You know, you mentioned Lauryn Hill earlier, and I remember this is the order in which I came to listening to the her first record. I of course I heard her on If I Ruled the World with Nas.
Yeah.
And then somewhere down the line, I mean, I had heard the album before, but never really delved into it.
Right.
And then I heard the Unplugged.
MTV?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was just watching and I was like, yikes. She's just so connected.
That was after though.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I cried.
Yeah.
I cried.
She was crying.
Right. I was at work listening to that on YouTube, just, you know, and I was just like, and it was emotional because you can hear her, but you can also can hear what paused her, because her voice wasn't as crisp and clear, but it was still what
Ginsu.
it was. Yeah, it was still what it was. Cause I was like, you can feel, oh my gosh, yeah, that she did that.
And I remember,
I wish I was there.
I remember going back to the album and listening to a record like Zion. And I remember thinking to myself, man, if I could just have one talk with her, I would ask her, obviously, the inspiration behind the record was her son, but I would ask her how she wrote it. And when you sit here and you talk about Just Friends and how you wrote it, that is what this podcast for me is, like I like to tell my kids at work, the meat and potatoes of things. You know, just what was the cause behind the record, and, you know, and you write your own lyrics.
Yeah.
No help.
All of them. Everything from before this, that, After, yeah, I've written everything.
No poetry at all. You don't do poetry at all.
I got 2 hot poems sitting in my Google Notes. And I be wanting to spit it, but I'm like, you gotta have that poet's charisma. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, I probably would, but I just wrote it. Just they old when I just
It's I did a podcast once before with an artist like yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When I say like yourself, just an artist. She
Right.
wasn't, as soulful
Right.
as you are. But she told me, and I agree with her, that she said that art is timeless. So it doesn't matter how long it's been, it needs to be heard.
Right.
Right. And so that's why I figured that it wouldn't matter. I figured that our very first podcast together should be about the project that I just have listened to over 15 times.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could check the numbers and all, but it's
Thank
projects like this that kind of make me wonder, how do you get to the next level? If you're, because you didn't just make this project. Like, if you just made this project to just make a project, then your very first outing, you did a damn good job.
Yeah.
You hit it right on the head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So how do you go from here to not only me being a lover of this album, but a few other people being a lover of this album?
Just remaining authentic, and running my own race. That's all it's ever been. I dance to the beat of my own drum. I don't force anything. I don't try not to put too much pressure on the mechanics of stuff, because I don't move like that.
Right.
I'm very free flowing. If it don't speak to me, I ain't speaking back. So, and it's just, and like my mom, she made a comment. She's like, it's a very small group of people that will gravitate to what you do, because you want people to feel and hear your truth and my truth that's based in some real truth. Like, I'm not just writing from just any ignorance or male bashing or female bashing. It's like, no, it's really healing, like just really seeing yourself. So when my mom said that, over time it just take the pressure off. Like, I just like, what God gonna do, he gonna do. Like, whoever's gonna receive it gonna receive it. And that's really my perspective. Yeah.
What do you think people should take from your journey?
What they can take is that, I want to say this right. That the growing pains is necessary. Even with myself, you think that you are ready to arrive at this appointed time. We always feel like we ready, like and outside of my music, my faith, my relationship with the Lord, is really big. So in that process, I'll tie it together like we want God to do a thing. We just feel like we primed and primed and ready, and God is like, nah, no, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, be still. And I'm speaking in real time now, just going back on what that meant. Like, I probably thought I was all ready to go, but God was like, no, I have more in you to reveal. I have, which comes my music, the truth. You know what I mean? So I just think that, again, like, the growing pains are necessary. Like, who you are really, really matters as far as your authentic self, not just trying to be somebody. And not like, we all are created, authentically, wonderfully made by, by God. And what would be the impact if, we all had the same story? You know what I mean? We kind of have some similarities, but not much. So I believe that it's just for me to deal with all my growing pains and all the stuff that I thought was a burden, but really like a step up, a leverage for me becoming this woman, this artist. It's just the idea of like, it was all accounted for. It was all going to happen. It was supposed to happen. and just allowing people to really look at their life like that it's not a bad ending. Like, just really tap into the optimism of like, we're becoming every day, you know? So. So probably the first one we recorded. Yeah.
I think the 3, 4, 5, 6 combo on this album are incredible.
Wow.
The way you ordered it.
Ooh, thank you.
I love the interlude at the end of this record. This is Walk Away.
Tell me what's going on. Went wrong. I'ma help you understand this. Broken promise that we always be together.
Okay.
Babe, I thought we had forever.
Does it bring you back?
Now, honestly, I just wrote this based off of what what love look like when it don't go right. So some stuff, you know, I let other people's experiences speak to me too. So it's a mixture of what I've walked through or what I've seen in other people. You know what I mean?
Hold on.
I was down for whatever, but I had your back. Said you never leave me lonely. Now we won't last. You let our
Love, just walk away, walk away. Why you gotta be like that? I don't think that you understand. I don't think you understand how good this album is. Maybe you do. You do understand. But I don't think that you fully, I don't think that you fully understand that this sounds... I don't think that you fully understand that I liken it to this. This could be your Illmatic. This could be your So Far Gone.
Look at you.
This, I'm a Nas head.
Yeah.
So this could be like, it's 9 tracks too.
Yeah.
It's...
Why you gotta be like that? I was down for whatever, boy, I had your back. Said you never leave me lonely. Now we won't last. You let our love just walk away.
That's what it is. This sound is it's not a Houston sound.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's not a Houston
What
sound.
sound is it?
Hold on.
Too many reasons why I never should
I love the bridge of this song.
Time on my love, boy, why you couldn't get it right. Too many reasons why I never should have sacrificed all my time on my love, boy, why you couldn't get it right. That's why I walked away.
That's why I walked away.
That's why I walked away.
Wait.
Why you gotta be like that? I was down for whatever, boy, I had your back. Said you never leave me lonely. Now we won't last.
Shout out to Kareem for the acoustic instrumentation on there. Yeah, that's my engineer too. Yeah. Yeah.
To answer your question, I think it's first of all, it's neo soul. It's neo soul, and you give me Jill Scott, Angie Stone, the old Chrisette Michele vibes. You give me those vibes, right? So when I say it's not a Houston sound, it's just the content is different. The instrumentation, it's live. Whatever he's doing in the studio, right? It's not a natural beat. Some of you got some instruments on here, and then you don't have some instruments. And so for me, it's just not a Houston sound.
Right.
And yeah, man, I don't think that you fully understand what you did right here.
I walk in a natural form of humility because, you know, like I said, I'm the how do you say that, the eyeball, you know what I mean? Like, it took some time, you know, how to have the potter and the potter's hands, you know, like to be molded and just chip away some things. I mean, it's just so when, you know, if as far as me looking at it and it being good, it's just really rooted in a gratefulness. Like, man, I completed something,
Right.
you know. And then sometimes when I don't listen to myself in a while. It's been some times where I'll go back and listen to stuff, and I ain't gonna lie, I shed a little tear, you know, because I'm like, wow, like I wrote that, so it'll be, I'll feel it then. I'll feel the impact and the magnitude then of just, like, not even just myself, but like just what is being said, like, man, that came out of me, so, because when I'm writing it, it's very structured. It's like, all right, I gotta do this, but when it's done and I can just go back and kind of pull up on it, it's like, wow, like, okay. So I've had a lot of moments like that, and it would also bring me encouragement, like, you do have something. Because even in all that, all we can create and accomplish is always this small but very powerful thing. They be like, it ain't enough. You ain't enough. I mean, it was like, it's just this pessimist, pest
Right.
that likes to come in and just on the weirdest time, in the strongest way. So in the moments like that, it'll give me some kind of glimpse of hoping again, like, man, no, like, keep going, like don't sweat it, like, be intentional, don't rush. Okay, the project gonna be done, like, and just it kind of realigns me of like where I come from, the place I'm coming from when I'm writing, because where I'm going is where I'm going, but where you coming from though, you know what I mean? And that's the question, like, what angle, like, what's the purpose, what's the intent? And it's always, trying to just keep it real, you know what I mean? So at 19, like, before all my music, and my producer, he would always make little jokes like, man, like, at 19 or even young, he's like, man, you write like for people in their 30s. That's what he would say back then, and I'd be like, oh, like, I would hear what you're saying now. I would hear like somebody, the response, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know. I'm just writing, like, literally just writing, like, not just what's coming out of me, you know what I mean? So that's always been, what you shared, what I've heard, and I just be like, okay.
How do you introduce yourself to the average person?
What's up? I'm Christina Janae. Like, I'm Christina. Like,
and when they ask you what you do, what do you say?
Oh, I'm a singer-songwriter. A lot of people don't even know how to sing. Like, I don't. They'll stumble upon if I'm. Yeah, I've never been there. People like, you sing? I'll be like, yeah, Like, I don't put my foot on the gas, like, at all. And it would be more of like, you need to tell people, and why, I'm like,
I'm with them. I'm with them, like, I mean.
I don't know. I guess it's just, I don't know. I really, that's just my genuine self. I don't put myself on no pedestal. I don't, when I say don't force, I try not to. I really don't, And when an opportunity comes, and maybe sometimes, not just off the spot, like, I know people, because I'm a hairstylist, so they be like, oh, girl, I be singing and doing hair. And I'm like, okay, like, sing. I'm like, well, that ain't, it's a time and place. Like, I'm doing hair. Or when I'm singing. So when it was time to perform, I think that would be the opportunity where, okay, y'all know what I do, but just on the average day, I'm not running around, like, really sharing. I think it's just when the opportunity is set for me to walk into that space, that's when you'll know, or when I'm sharing something I've done, or like, oh, you do music, like, oh yeah, you know what I mean? But I really be real chill.
So on the night of October the 15th, 2021, I'm there, like I said earlier in the episode, I'm there and I'm checking on my man ER, and I don't know what record he was doing, but he was doing Not Like This, because that's the episode I sent you, just for you to kind of get a feel of how the podcast was gonna go. So he was doing Not Like This, but I think he did a record before, right? And so I just want walk away to end, go into the interlude, because I just love the interlude on the album. And then the next record, Let Me Down, is what kind of was just like, I was like, wow. I mean, you had a few people up on their feet singing every lyric, and I'm just sitting back. I'm like, God damn, hold on, wait a minute. I know, because I mean, I would expect that somebody in there would have felt the energy I had for Echo, like your people had for you, and stepped in and be like, where can I see your music at? And so my whole point to you was, I just got to sit down and talk to you about this album, because I've had R&B artists on here before, but just not like you. Wow. Even ER is not like you are. Yeah. ER is more pop related. Right. He's it's a mixture of things with him. Houston, Texas. This is Let Me Down. Same EP.
Hey, it can have you. moments and situations. Really deep in thought, it got me contemplating. Am I prepared to freely give this one more chance? Whoa. Disappointed time and time again. I'm looking out for self and letting no one in. Whatever it takes to keep my heart from growing cold. So this is the last time I made up in my mind. Love won't have me in no lost and found. Doing whatever to keep it together. I won't ever ever let me down. This is the last time I made up in my mind. Love won't have me in no lost and found. Doing whatever to keep it together. I won't ever ever let me down. Won't let me down. Won't let me down.
Houston, I used to say I do this. It's been a minute.
So I took the time to love myself. I won't be validated by nobody else. I realize that my value ain't determined by the opinion of another, no. Sometimes people just don't understand. When you're walking in your freedom and you're confident. I made a choice to put me first. Ain't gonna be nobody's last. I'm telling you, this is the last time I made up in my mind. Love won't have me in no lost and found. Doing whatever to keep it together. I won't ever ever let me down. This is the last time I made up in my mind. Love won't have me in no lost and found. Doing whatever to keep
Performing this, writing this. Yeah, I had a good time. When I performed it, it was forgot the people's names. Oh my gosh, so mad I forgot the event. But it was at a boutique. My memory's bad, y'all. Forgive me. Forgive me. I wish the memory is there, but that's bad. But when I performed this, I had a really good. I was so nervous. That's when I really started to perform, and just trying to figure out like how to go about doing a show mix versus studio, like, and breaking from this structured, space and then being more fluid and real, like crowd participation, like, cause
And that's what it was. Cause
that later on, but yeah, for sure.
well, I'm talking about when you were doing the record, it was
Yeah.
girls up there. They were like, your homegirls were, and
yeah.
granted it's your homegirls,
Yeah.
but some people's people don't have all the lyrics memorized.
Yeah, my cousin, my cousin, she rocked with it. She
Right.
said one of her favorite songs. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. From youngest to oldest record on this album, which one was first? Which one is the youngest? Which one's the oldest?
Ooh, so I believe Walk Away is the youngest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was the last one you wrote.
um
That would mean youngest, right? Yeah, it's the last one you wrote. That would mean youngest.
well, the first one, oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, so the first one, so the youngest would be Freedom Song. Yeah.
Freedom Song.
Yeah.
Okay. The last one you wrote, and then so list them how you wrote them.
Ooh,
Do you remember?
no. You challenging me.
You got an intro, outro. That's beautiful.
Right.
Okay. Then you have
Good. Oh, I take that back. No, good. I'm tripping. Good is. You got me confused on how.
So when I say the young, so obviously,
The last one I wrote.
right.
was
I'm talking about, okay, from 2004 to 2005 to 2019, right? You took your entire life to make your first album, right? And so you didn't write all these records in 1 year.
No.
What was the first record on this album you wrote?
So you're right. So Walk Away. Yeah,
Was the first one you wrote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then Good,
Okay.
because I end up just choosing to release it as a single first.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, and then I believe Something Different.
Okay.
I wrote that then.
That's why I say that, you know,
it's
to, me, to me, it don't seem like, I don't think you understand like how good this album is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because my thing is this: sometimes you'll give an independent artist a chance just because, and it's not like you have the right to give them a chance. You just came
right
to an event, you saw them, and it's normal that anybody performing be like, hey, check my work out, right? And a lot of people say, okay, I'll check it out, but I don't think it's gonna be really, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna be really good. But then when it is good,
right,
it's just like, hold on, wait a minute, you just been sitting on this, or what? Like, what's going on? So that was my whole thing. And when I first listened to it, I think I would tweet about it. I would post it on IG story, and you know, it's just to see, like, it's good music out here.
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for Houston, you know, we got music, right? And, you know, we got Beyonce, but she's not really, you know, she's from Houston, but she's not really us. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's the world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I've heard that, yeah.
So when you got an artist here that, you know, just imagine if you had a bigger push. I'm not saying that you know, Jill Scott has a huge following.
Right.
Angie Stone at one point in time was huge,
Right.
from wherever. I think she might be, I don't know if she's from Philly or from wherever she is from, but just imagine if you had that push.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's always been the thing.
Right.
The push.
Right. Not from you, but
Yeah.
like from everybody else. Like, yo, check this artist out. She is nice. You know what I'm saying? And that was the whole, you know, that's why I was persistent with, like, yo, when are we gonna podcast?
Right.
I just gotta hear. I gotta hear if you know, if this album was intentional, if you just lucked up, if you had people help you write this album, because it's a damn good album.
Right. I appreciate
You know
it.
what I'm saying? So your producer, he did every record on this album?
Frank Mintz, yes.
Where you meet him at?
We've been rocking and rolling since I was 19. Just kind of like after I did that, it was a cappella when I did Kill Me Softly at that event with the coffee house. Just a homie that I worked with, just kind of, we just plugged in, and I guess he had, you know, shared some of my music that I was doing. Like, I didn't have any instrumentals just yet, so I did a little EP with just beats that I liked. So it was a mix of Timbaland and Magoo, Ice Cube. I mean, just beats that, and I just wrote to it, my own lyrics. But and he, you know, was like, man, like, I want to work with her. Like, whatever you doing with her, I want to work with her. So our vibe really just kind of, everything has just been real organic. Like, recording, you know, in a room, like, no budget, no clue, but just had the gift and the vision and just what direction. So Frank Mintz it's been we've been rolling for a minute, and that's not forced either. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you be, oh, you want to try another producer? Or I was like, well, it fit. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, and he's, you know, matured as a producer as well. So we both grew in our artistry. But as far as when it just came with projects and stuff that we would do, it's always just been very natural. Like, nothing forced. Like, it'll be some, like I said, beats. I mean, my background is R&B, but I love hip hop. So him being, he a hip hop head, you know, boom bap, 90s, that's the vibe. I just connected with that. So it was a funny moment. He was like, man, you know, you write like a rapper. And I'm like, how? He's like, man, you be writing 16 bars. I'm like, what's that? You know, so, I mean, he was like most R&B songs is like 4 to 6, 6 to 8 bars. He was like, you write. So when I would hear rap music, I'm like, oh man, but I mean, him being hip hop, maybe just how he structured the beat, I just would find it. So like I said, it's aha moments will come much later, but building and creating it, I'm just right here, real time, just writing, you know. So, I mean, that project is near and dear. Like I said, when we were done, we was just like, right. All right, you know, because it was just a lot of different, you know, the reasons that, you know, stuff just happened. And like you said, it's not gonna be done in one month, one day. Like, projects do take time, but you don't understand the beauty and the beauty of the process until you're like, oh, like, what if I would have just tried to mash it all in one? That's not me naturally, but just trying to create something for the masses. It would have just been you know what I mean? So, and you know what I'm writing and what I'm saying, is going to apply to 2019, 2020, 2021, like, because it's truth. It's real. So, yeah.
When you organized the album, what story did you want to tell? Did that lead to why you put them in this order, or what story did you want to tell when you organized the album? Arranged, I should say.
I believe it was just more of just the vibe. I think we wanted to create a momentum, like not hit nothing too hard. I think it was like just like in what's the word I can use? Ascending. Like you just wanted to be able to just have a flow about it where it's like, okay. I just all off the energy and vibes of it. Now the introductories as far as like the intros, that had to fit because of course that intro before Let Me Down, that was me talking about the when I had a radio interview, that was me talking about what that song was about. But outside of that, it gets a little bit, I just think it was just more of the feel and the vibe. It wasn't nothing overly thought outside of the intros, and just the Freedom song and then the outro, that was a pair.
Okay.
As far as the thought, like what it meant, just to wrap up, you know what I mean? So yeah.
And this might be a clip that I use. Habakkuk 2:2-3 says, "And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. You do what you do for yourself to prove you can do it for others. Even though the year of perfect vision needed corrective lenses, your vision was never out of focus. You remained still. You remained determined." Kobe said, "The Mamba mentality is the attention to detail and the level of commitment. Run your race because you got time. Keep the momentum. Believe in your story, a creative story. Remember, never stay comfortable while trusting the process. Be innovative in your 720 hours. There will be stumbling blocks. You just keep pushing. Most importantly, what's next? Continue to drop."
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday?
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday. When you wrote this album, how describe yourself in one word when you wrote the album? If you could use one word to kind of depict the ending process of the album and the project that you knew you had when you said it's over, what word would you use to describe yourself at that moment?
Honestly, uncertain. Like I'm writing this, I'm paying to record this, I'm doing this. Is it gonna sound right? I mean, some songs I brought one place to mix it to just. I mean, it was just a lot of uncertain. Like, what direction we going? Is it gonna be right? To the point where people had to say, like, just put it out. Like, I think I read an article that was like, stop hoarding over it. Like, release it. You know what I mean? But it was just, again, I didn't have that in mind until again with music I was just singing. So I was like, well, okay, now I'm actually doing a project and. I was like, okay, what, in my mind, I'm independent. I ain't got nobody, pushing me. This is all on me. How they going to receive me? Like, is it going to be felt, So it was a lot of uncertainty because I was creating it, but it was just like, is it going to be received? Is it like the studio sound? Does it sound like the radio? I mean, it was just a lot of uncertainty, So when I grasped onto that truth of just, even if it sound crazy, it was crazy at that time. Grow from it. You know what I mean? Like stop trying to perfect, you know what I mean? And just let it be. So yeah.
So you dropped a record recently. Mm-hmm. Tell me about your choice of dropping a record this year. I think it was this year that you dropped it.
In May.
Why did you drop that record this year?
It had been a minute. With COVID, I just feel like it was a shift. A lot of different things happened, and I wanted to release because it was in real time of the evolving of, you know, who I don't want to say was, because I am in this season. So that song, now I've been wrote it though. Like I think I wrote it like a year before I even dropped it. Actually, no, I take that back. I was sitting on it, and it was just a very spontaneous session where I wrote it right there, like with the producer, with my homie JB, who's the featured artist on there, because he was like, what? Like I didn't even have the words, so he was like, like we said, man, what we doing? I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't have the words yet. So he's like, man, pull up, let's just vibe, like just, and literally I wrote Woman, like right. I think I probably had a few couple of lines, but it wasn't completed at all. So yeah, I wrote that single right there in the studio with my producer and JB, and it just was real. It was real magic. That was big because I don't do that. I write to myself by myself. When I record, it's pretty structured because I'm going in, I'm paying for my time. It's not necessarily a free flowing thing. So that was the first time I was able to kind of let my hair down and just let it come. So I was really, really excited to complete that. And, you know, he helped assisted with just the hook. You know, like I didn't know what I was going to title it or how the hook would go, but I know it was about her, like her, the beauty of her, what it takes to be her, what it is to be her, and why she should be celebrated. You know? Yeah. Yeah, Kareem, my engineer, that's him on the acoustics as well too.
I can't deny you. Cause girl, you a goddess. Look in your eyes, I see all your problems. Wondering how I can solve them. But I know the things that you require. And I know the things that you desire. Yeah, if I be really myself, then you will find them. Yeah, that way you'll never need nobody else. You deserve it all. The earth and all. To me, girl, you perfect, Then again, I know nothing ever really is. I'm just trying to tell you how I feel about my respect.
Celebrate her liberty, her dignity, celebrate integrity, celebrate her energy. W-O-M-A-N, 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 W-O-M-A-N,
Right.
Nice record. When I heard it, I was like, okay, she's she's of course the gap in between. I was like, okay, she's changed again.
Oh, you felt that?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm talking about like evolving.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
in lessons, love lessons, and
Life, love, and lessons.
life, love, and lessons, I could tell that, you know, there was a relationship involved.
Yeah.
And then I could tell that in the album, for me, it was one of those things where the reason why I asked you why you placed the records how you placed them is because I got the sense of, okay, meet a boy, doesn't work out. I give you a chance, it still doesn't work out, and then now I've got to find me at the end.
Right.
Right. And so in this record right here, I could tell that, you know, there is no, not to say that there is no relationship, but the focus now is myself and appreciation for my gender. You know what I'm saying? So when I saw it, I think I saw it on your Instagram first, and then, you know, I went right to it.
Right.
And so I was just wondering, you know, Maxwell would drop every 3 years or so, every 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 7 years or so, right? He doesn't do, you know, he did Suit, and then he did the one after that, and it was like 5 years in between. So I was like, you know, that's why I say that your sound is just not like from here, because those neo soul artists, the popular ones from back in the day,
Right.
it seems like they put so much into a project that they gotta kind of like bounce back, like they've left it all out there,
Right.
and then they go through this process where they're healing, finding themselves again, and experiencing a new set of experiences to put that on the next one.
Right.
And it's not something like I'm gonna take away. I'm gonna step back. It's one of those things like I have nothing else to say. I put it on this album. Now it's my time to rest, take in nature, take in whatever, and just kind of start all over again, right? And so I kind of was like, is that where you were coming from?
No.
And dropping 3 years later.
Like I said, when I did Life, Love, and Lessons, I mean, it really was just a collective of we wanted to drop a project, but we were, I'll say for myself, learning and growing like as an artist while these songs are being picked or written, recorded. Like it was no blueprint. And I even say that's why it is a gap on a lot of songs that when I wrote. And the ones, you know, like the time frame, it wasn't all like, you know, back to back. But in a sense of just that project was really, it was intentional. Some of them were experiences, but for sure, most them, like Freedom Song was my experience. Let Me Down, my experience. I mean, yeah, all of them, something different, just different things. But
Go ahead.
I guess I feel like I was probably immature a little bit. I don't know, maybe because like where I am now, it is really connected with a shift of evolving, which brings to woman. You know what I mean? Yeah, Freedom Song, that's definitely was the story of, I'll say the prodigal daughter, you know, like just running from God, you know what I mean? And just thinking that you could do it all on your own and you're the Lord over your life, and you're not, you know what I mean? So when you finish doing your own thing and you tapped out, you know, God like, all right, come on, like you welcome back. So it's just like when I see freedom, like you think you free until you really create the bondage, and freedom comes in. What the song is saying, like just surrendering, like, you know what, like I want your freedom. Like I had mine and I was locked up. Right. So my freedom in Christ and my faith, like that's the freedom I want to experience, and that's attached to peace, joy, contentment, you know, humbleness. Like I want yours, you know what I mean? So that started to become like the shift in like my growth and just really like maturing and just in my faith and just as a woman. So yeah, and that track, it was funny, that inspiration came from the Lauryn Hill Unplugged. I really enjoyed the acoustics and just the raw feel, and honestly that was not for the project. I was doing an event with a poet named Salah the Saint, if I'm not mistaken, that's how you say his name. And he was doing an event, and I needed something to kind of like just tie in, because it was giving women their flowers. It was poets. It was beautiful. He had red roses, kind of like performing in a bed of red roses. And I wanted something that really was gonna like, tie in the intent. So Kareem, my engineer, he just took his guitar out and just did that. I was not with him, and I just listened, and that's what came out. Freedom Song.
Spirit guides us in our blindness. No comparison to man, 'cause he's righteous. I wouldn't trade
Off of These Days, Life, Love, and Lessons.
everything that I've gone through. Maybe the one and today. No longer leaning on my understanding. I'm gonna walk it out in faith. And now I understand its purpose in it all. To sing my testimony in front of you all. Crying out, he set me free. You can't take this joy from me. Everything he is, I am. According to my Father's plan, I am right where I belong. Gonna praise him all day long. This is my freedom song. This is my freedom song. If you know what bondage is, you'll understand freedom. If you know what bondage is, you'll understand freedom. If you know what bondage is, you'll understand freedom. This is my freedom song. This is my freedom song. Yeah.
That was cool. When I recorded that, I was trying to break it up, like in tracks, like do the hook first or this, that, and it wasn't sounding how I wrote it. So I was like, Kareem, I want to just record it one track straight through. I don't want to stop. And because I didn't want to take away from the organic feel, the genuine, emotion that how I wrote it. Because it's a build up, it's a story I'm telling. So I feel like when you pause and it's like, you telling a story, like, you be like, like, hold on, let me take this call real quick. So like, what you feeling to share this story, it ain't the same because you got to kind of build back up. So, be like, man, okay, what I was saying was like when I was, so I wanted to feel it, so I know how I'm singing it is like is a real live emotions and all. Because I was like, nah, I don't like breaking this to this verse. I'm like, I didn't write it like that. And he was just amazed because we tried to go back when I was doing the EP and he tried to recreate it to make it more of a studio sound. And it was the funniest thing because we was like, Kareem, like, it's good like that. Like he was like, no, like, and I'm like, no, like how you just plugged it in and just created this tune, like that was in you. I'm like, and I think we spent like a couple of hours and we was just like, it don't sound the same. It ain't the same feel. It's not, you forcing it. And I teased him when he gets on me on how I record, like, it sound good. I'm like, you remember when you wanted to recreate this acoustic, he's like, all right, whatever. Like, I get you. And we just like, no, we gonna stick with the raw, like, cause that's what it came from. You created it raw. I wrote it raw. I want to sing it raw and I want people to feel it raw. Right. So it's really not a lot of effects on anything polished on that. It was just what it was. Right. And I know also my producer, he took a lot of pride in wanting to make sure, which I agreed, I sound like, when I perform, I sound just like that. Like, you want to take away from the authenticity across the board at all. Because you do have have artists or, albums you listen to and you be vibing with it. Then when you see him perform, you be like, you be like, who's that? Or like, wow, you sound like that, So we wanted to like make sure like how I sound in the studio, that's how I'm gonna sound when I, perform it. So it was good.
Hold on. So it's been so long since I sat across from somebody on the podcast and vibed with them. Got the journey. I think that in my everyday life, that of a husband, father now, educator. I had to learn the word sacrifice. And in sacrificing, I realized that this is something I want to share with Bink, that I kind of spread myself thin.
We always do.
There's a lot I want to do, and the podcasting thing now, 136 episodes in, it was something that I started and I didn't necessarily see the end, but I knew that it's something that I love. I'm passionate about it, but when you got Nas has a record on his third LP called "Life Is What You Make It," and he says on there, "Every day my daughter's feet grow," and so every day my daughter's feet have grown. And this is something I expressed in, so last year I said I had an episode on my podcast called Year 7, and I was just kind of reestablishing who I was in education.
Right.
The word foundation was very prominent in that episode because I was going back to a foundational course because I teach math.
Right.
So I surmised the end of the year and the end of that school year in year 2 of on my podcast, and I said in year 2 that I won't complain about being an educator anymore because there were certain things that I didn't ever have to walk away from because I had a steady income coming in.
Right.
Right. And so with that idea in mind, I had to kind of take a step back from podcasting. And what I mean by that is it just takes a lot of time. You mentioned, 3-4 hours in the studio. It takes a lot of time to load that card up, set everything, level everything right, make sure the audio's right, make the shirts that I put on the podcast. It just takes a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So where I kind of like compensated for that was I would just stay in the crib and podcast in the crib. And I was podcasting because I wanted to do something at the end of the third quarter, walking into the fourth quarter, because I believe the fourth quarter is like my quarter. And it just wasn't coming.
Right.
I started, and then I muted the mic, and I was like, yo, what the hell are you talking about? And then I leaned back like this, and I was just thinking, I was like, man, I really want a pod, but I just don't feel that it is right.
Right.
Like I kind of need somebody to, because you find that when you sit next to somebody and they're telling you about your journey, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that. I feel that. Oh yeah, I feel that. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe that's a different way to look at it, i.e., not, if organically, if people come upon it, they come upon it.
Right.
I'm from the cloth of, listen, I do a project and boom, I hit hey, check me out. And even sometimes if it's uncomfortable in conversations, I'm going to force it in there. Like, somebody be talking like, yeah, well, I do this. Yeah.
Right.
And just to sit next to you and hear that, you're like, well, I mean, I'm all about the flow of things and it's got to feel authentic and all of that. It's like refreshing.
Yeah.
Because now I understand that, I don't necessarily have to drop this episode on Tuesday just to make it.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Word. There's a whole word.
It ain't going to be long. It's going to be in October. But if I want to kind of like, if you're not going to, because it's just not, maybe it's not in your nature. You're just not like that. If you're not going to, hey, check me out. Maybe the time period that I take, I can chop out enough to be like, by the time I get done and the episode has run its course, people are like, all right, well, I'm going to check her out because I've been seeing these clips weekly, every day now.
Right.
And so that takes time.
Right.
So I just feel blessed to have you here finally.
Oh,
because
so blessed to be here.
you know what I mean, I wasn't gonna stop.
Right.
And it's the itty bitty things like that kind of knock, a date off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You could be like, well, today's not the right day.
Right.
And my whole thing was when we were gonna try to reschedule, I was gonna be like, listen, we're gonna get this podcast done sometime.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if the day ain't right, I'll figure out a way, because now I'm just trying to get back into the flow of things.
Right.
Not full throttle,
Right.
because it could kind of take me somewhere, pardon me. It could kind of take me like to a different place, like it'll become my only focus.
Right.
And now, wife and daughter at home, I can't just, be locked in the
Right.
podcast all the time.
Yeah, and it's what you shared is literally like what I'm releasing myself from. It's very tricky. When you we can look at it two parts, like this is just what I'm doing? Are you really, I don't look at it like that. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving something, I'm giving of myself. And it's too many times where we are like my song was Love. You can't pour from no empty cup, man. You just can't. And I be honest, in the room that we in with social media, it'll make you feel guilty to rest or to just pause or because everything is just predicated on if you ain't getting the bag, if you ain't posting the reel 1,000 times, and then I'm not picking up that bag. I'm picking up the grocery bag. I'm picking up my gym bag right now. Like, this the bag I'm picking up. I'm not picking up that bag, and not being, in bondage behind that. And I mean, with me, like, because of, like I said, how I'm rooted, how I am, I've had a lot of little pit stops and all that. Some of it was probably damage control, but like now it's like, no, I am intentionally, I want to pause. Like, I am an artist, I do write, but the stirring up in me is like, what more of me, you can do with me, like, God. But the more in me it needs to be less of what I'm doing so I can receive the more. And I'm just unashamed with just, like, I'm getting off the chopping block of trying to, the race of becoming, because who I am, God already, like, set that up. But in order for me to be connected to that, I have to really be still and know. Like, and it's just, if you're not podcasting and being the husband and the father, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Like, that's not going to, because if you trying to build, a mansion in that, then the real mansion, that's going to crumble. And that, I always say, when life happens, when it get real, what are the few things you going to be asking God to maintain and keep my family, keep my house, so why we acting like that? I mean, the race we running, the thing we going to get, that's fine. But don't forget the things that are really keeping you. Like, that reel ain't keeping you. That Instagram post ain't keeping you. It's a part of you, but it's not going to keep you. And I had to learn to separate that so I won't feel like making that Lord. Like, that's my identity. That's where my validity comes from. And it's tricky. Like, you only going to know that when you be still and want to know. God says be still and know, but do you even want to know? So I'm in the space of, like, I want to know. Like, what is it? So right now, like, when I drop Woman, I'll be honest, some part of that was an anxiousness of, like, I ain't done it in a minute. Let me go. But I mean, it was real. But it was just like, Christina, you probably forced that. I don't regret it. I mean, the whole idea, intent of what it meant, even the photo shoot, the photo shoot, that was really representation of my evolving, the grace that's shown in me, like the woman, soft, like, I'm healing, I'm finding, we always gonna find ourselves in different seasons. Like, who I was 2019, I am not her in 2022. You know what I mean? And I mean, that her needed to be her so I can be this her. You know what I mean? So that, the story behind Woman in the cover, that was real time, but it also kind of was like a prick in, like, what's really happening right now, like, and just being okay with it. You know what I mean? So when you do come back, when you come out of that resting place, you really productive physically and emotionally and mentally and spiritually, because you're present with it. You ain't just being a busybody, just a to-do list, because it's no joy in that. You'll look back and, like you said, hey, what am I trying to say? Like, the you that knows the truth, you know what to say. And when that resistance is happening, that's God speaking. Like, be still. Yeah. Like, we want to be heard from everybody else, but we don't want to hear from God. Right. And that's just really my season, and what really, when I look at all this compile of my projects, singles, everything, that's what it is. That's what it is now. Like, man, run your own race. Right. Right. So it's what you shared was just, I'm like, there it go. Like you said, the journey, like what you said, you walking that same thing too. Look, you just inspire me with your truth. And sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm the only one feel like this. No, we all, but if we don't, be honest with ourselves, we'll be selling lies. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, even though you put the real out, like, was you really real with it when you did it? You know, was you really, was it just product management, or
Right.
this was real a creative space that you just, whether you put it out or not, whether you receive it or not, you are good with it.
Right.
It's not no math. Okay, well, let me do, and I feel that pull, but something to me is like, nah, like, that's not how I created you.
Right.
Like, what you do, what you say, that's the present time it's supposed to be. And that's been a journey of like surrendering that ideology, like,
Right.
to stay on, be on, like, nah, like, get off. And you can stay off as long as you need until you really hear that, okay,
Right.
you can be up and running again.
Today is October the 9th, 2022. Okay. So 31 and 31 is 62 and 30 is 92 from 92. So 365. I'm talking about from the first day of October, right? That's the fourth quarter. There are 92 days in the fourth quarter. So 92 from 365.
Oh, you mathing. Math was
Right.
not my subject.
So let's just say 365 plus 32 is 392. No. Plus 65 and 92 would be what? 27. So I'm gonna add 27 days to 365 to make it 392. Then I'm gonna subtract 92 from that, right? That'll give me 300. And then I'm going to take another 27 away. That'll give me 272, 275. Okay. And then from 275, I'm going to subtract 9 days. So I'm around, this is day, now I'm tripping. 92 minus 9 is 81. So we have 81 days left in the year. Sorry, I did all that. Sorry about that.
Right.
We have 81 days left in 2022. What are you looking forward to in those 81 days?
Trajectory. Like, I'm just really, I feel this pull that I will be doing something more outside of music, and I have a desire to, and that's why it's kind of like it's on pause. Like, it's I went through a grieving like time, like, man, like, you put it on pause again. But like I said, it was this time. It's like I need to. It just wasn't just wasting time and playing, like, no, like, or just something like I'm intentional. So. I really don't know what's ahead, but in this time I have been just self-preserving, like, just really what's mattering to me. I'm just keeping it at the forefront and being okay with it. Like, when you mentioned, you're not podcasting, you just kind of, like, right now, like, I'm, join a live group for my church. I lead worship, for my church. Just being present, because it's been a force, like, trying to post the project again and share it. And I'm trying to be as, like, you don't want to be all, what's the word? I guess just, I want to keep it real. Because when you be real, it's like, oh, you making excuses. But no, like, I did drop Woman. I performed it a few times. But these last few times, like you said, I just felt like, knock the headphones off, man. What am I trying to say? Like, like, what am I doing? So right now, I'm just... I have some notes, I'm interested in, I don't like the word podcast, but I am a lover of perspective and encouragement. So I do, and I don't really want to be in front of the camera. Maybe just speaking, just encouragement, just sharing, like, what I do with my music, but just in a different realm. I believe, like, I have the example, like, I've been doing hair. I was at a, salon of Blessing, But I just wanted something fresh, something new. Like I'm still doing hair, but I'm like, so I'm moving to my own suite. You know, that was the freshness, the newness. It's like, all right, okay, it's just kind of like a spark again. So me as an artist, writer, like I still do music, but I'm like, Lord, I want something fresh, something new. Like what else can you do with my voice, my words? Like, I mean, it's on a melody, but those same words can be, you know, presented in a way of just a place of stillness and just being shared. So I want to do more. So right now I'm just pending, but while I'm under construction, but in a good way. So right now, I mean, I've just been filling myself with a lot of God's word and just meditating, purging, fasting, like just wanting to and being okay with this simplicity of my season. Like I ain't trying to do too much. I don't feel called to do too much. And I know that, you know, at the appointed time, like my cousin, she was like, girl, like upon this interview, she was like, oh, that's going to be a good interview because she knows the space I've been in. So yeah, just right now, I'm still working on my EP. My second one is titled Identity Crisis. And this is more of definitely a flip from Life, Love, and Lessons. It's not relationship with two parties, but more just relation, like with self. And as these different things are happening in my life, I'm like, man, the title is becoming more like cemented on like what it really means. Like identity crisis, like who are you? You know, like who were you? Why? You know, what got you here? So it's changing, and I mean, I'm enjoying it. And even with this, I can't rush that.
Right.
Because really, what I have to say is really rooted in a lot of, you know, some disappoint, some destructive parts of how it fell apart, finding yourself, getting through like what I'm walking in right now. So I don't know when. I have about 6 or 7. A couple of them, my previous singles, What's Love and Just Us, that will be on there, but everything else is new. My latest 2 that I wrote, it's called Unbreakable and Due Season. So that's letting me know like I'm in real time again with, you know, with where I'm at and what I want to share. So that is being worked on. But outside of that, just wanting to be spoken to. And the only way you can is if you be still to hear. Yeah.
You kind of answered my last question. The name of the podcast is the What's Next podcast, but most importantly, the last question I'll ask is what's next? You answered that. So what I like to do, right, and it's been a minute. It's been a long time since I did this. I like to give people a token of my appreciation for their time.
Yes.
For putting up with my, you know, constant badgering of them to come on the podcast. And so I do T-shirts as well. So I made 2 T-shirts for you, exclusive. Only people that ever wear these 2 color T-shirts, or these 2 T-shirts rather, are people that have given me time on my podcast. Yes. So, you know, we talked about that and
Thank you.
The exclusive What's Next podcast T-shirt and the exclusive SVI T-shirt.
Love it. Thank you.
And
I appreciate that.
Houston, Texas. I used to say every Tuesday, but I'm not gonna rush it. You know, this is Christina Dene. I'm John Ross Dyke the First. Appreciate her time, her patience,
Yes.
and her project.
Yes.
Until I see you again, I love you. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Chicken puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies. And them valleys, no Pilates. More weight get you more wet. Nah, that's these Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal. I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like Ace of Spades. That Ace of Spades get cracked me like cheers to the money guys. The Willie niggas who buy them bottles. And then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dog. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose and rain when you pass 9. You don't get high as hustle. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. No breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck is up. Life is short. over and done. Overdose. Yes, we did it again. Sipping with no remorse. We gon' do it again, and we gon' do it again.
What we doing again?
The most. Overdose.
John Ross Dyke I, founder of Still Visionary Inc. and creator of the World's Next Podcast, dropping every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard